Hi, and welcome to another episode of Send It. This week's episode is sponsored by Orca Golf Bags, the golf industry's only women-owned golf bag designed and build brand now on sale just in time for the holidays. From elegant tour staff bags to bags that are sophisticated stand bags, they have everything to meet your needs, including travel bags. This is great for your amateurs, for professionals, even someone that just needs something to hold their clubs in. Make sure to visit orcagolf.com to learn more and start shopping today. We'll just hop on into it for this week's episode. Thank you guys again for joining on. This year is the 75th Women's U.S. Open, and it kicks off at Champions Golf Club in Houston. It'll be an open not like any other. One, it's in December. Two, the weather's not ideal, right? And daylight saving time is something that we're going to have to be really cautious of. But another really interesting thing is that they're playing on two separate courses for the first two rounds, one being Cypress Creek and the other being Jackrabbit. Towards the end of the tournament, everyone will play on Cypress Creek. So with all of that, everything for this historic U.S. Women's Open, what's a storyline that interests you most as we prepare to go into the final major of the year? So Adam, would you like to kick us off?
Sounds good. So you had nailed some of the interesting storylines, at least right off the hop here. The time of the year is going to be interesting. The golf courses, plural, is going to be super interesting as well. I think for me, one of the most fascinating things is that this golf tournament is a tournament because of its players. And I think that we're going to see some names who we haven't really seen yet this year. We've got Jin Young Ko, world number one. She is going to be playing in her first major championship of the year. We've got So Young Rio, who as well is going to be playing in her first major championship of the year. So we've got these golfers who, in Ko's case, she is world number one. Rio has been world number one before. We've got some of the golfers who are this next 2 weeks in the calendar. We've got the U.S. Women's Open, obviously, this week, and then we've got the Tour Championship next week as well. Massive purses. So for me, the golf tournament is happening at a different time of the year. There's going to be two golf courses, but I'm most fascinated to see which golfer rises to the top of the leaderboard, and maybe it's going to be someone who we haven't seen yet this year, and really on a major championship stage on the LPGA Tour.
For sure.
Well, I have to agree.
Go ahead.
I was going to say I have to agree with Adam is that when I was walking the grounds yesterday at the Colony at Old American Golf Club, players told me they were very excited about playing last week and getting their game in tune. I think you're very right, Adam. I think that some of the Korean girls I talked to yesterday at Old American, obviously, Stacey Lewis is the member champion. So a lot of good things happening, and I think that girls are ready to get their game tuned up, and it will be a very interesting 2-week stretch to see what happens.
For sure. I think it's especially they even have the 5 exemptions from Symetra Tour coming up and playing. And so this year, LPGA has had great storylines. If we look at Sophia Popov, of what can happen from somebody that's new to the field. So I'm really excited to see what happens. And by saying some of the exemptees in the field, there are 7 Texans in the field, including Angela Stanford, as well as Brittany Lang, a former Women's U.S. Open champ, and Stacey Lewis, which Art, you just said, is a member at the course. Give me one sleeper that
Correct.
You guys have and one of your ultimate picks to lift the trophy. Adam, for some reason, I feel like one of the two is going to be Brooke Henderson for you, but maybe you'll surprise me.
Is it that obvious?
Hey.
I didn't know it was that obvious, but I think it's going to have to be. So I think sleeper pick, I'm going to go with the Texan. I don't know how sleeper she is because she is a winner on the LPGA Tour, and Art may want to jump in on this one because he is a fellow Texan, but I like Cheyenne Knight a lot. I think she's from the area. She's not from all that far away. She seemed incredibly comfortable when I spoke with her earlier on in November about the golf course, about the Bermuda grass, about the unpredictability of the temperature as well, which is potentially something that could be a big factor this week too. So when you look at somebody who hasn't really contended in a major championship or really played all that well on a major championship stage, but has won on the LPGA Tour, has that Texan hometown or home state advantage, I should say. I like Cheyenne Knight a lot this week, and you are correct. My pick from the world's best has got to be Brooke Henderson. But I say this not just because I'm a fellow Canadian, but because of how well she's played in the majors this year. We take the AIG Women's Open out of it. It was her first event back after an extended COVID break. And you look at how well she played at the ANA. She lost in a playoff. She finished tied for 6th at the KPMG Women's PGA. She finished in the top 6 in her last 3 straight tournaments on the LPGA Tour. She's well rested. She's got a big focus on winning another major. She's only won 1 in her career, and then she's obviously got the Tour Championship next week as well. So I do like Brooke a lot, but for some pretty good reasons.
For sure. All right, what about yourself?
Well, I'll tell you a sleeper pick, and I'll have to go with another Texan, but I think the Dorina Pillar, who lives in the Dallas area. She led this week after the first round. She was in the lead after the first round at Old American this week. Really a standout in Solheim Cup play. Played some great Solheim Cup matches. And so she knows how to deal with the international field. Talked to Dorina. She's been to Houston a couple of times to see the course and really get a feel for it. So I like Dorina Pillar a lot as a sleeper pick. And I think that, hold up the trophy, the Hollywood ending would certainly be Stacey Lewis as a champion, and that's certainly possible. But I really like NB Park. I think, I walked with her group yesterday, really playing well, and came to the end, and Angela Sanford had a 3-shot lead. She bogeyed 18, and NB Park had a birdie putt on 17 that would have cut the deficit to 1 shot and barely missed. And then on 18, she could have birdied and tied. So I like NB's upward. For those of us who are going to cover for Stacey Lewis, I think that'd be a great morning read story this time, Nick.
For sure. I would have to say my picks, you guys kind of touched on them just a tad bit, but it's definitely Dorina Pillar. She's been someone that's been a huge influence in my life and my career, and I would absolutely love to see her win. But also when I think about some of my other peers, especially coming off from Symetra, I'm really excited about Janie Jackson, who hits the ball a mile and has been one of the standout players on tour this year. And so those are probably 2 of my favorites, but there's a lot of people in the field that I'm definitely rooting for and I'm pulling for. And I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe, if you have, what would it be, a Friday tee time at Cypress, and then you're able to play 3 days straight on that course rather than having to go back and forth, might affect some play. But overall, I think it's going to be a really great event.
Well, it's been so long since the girls have played an event. It's been, Champions hosted 2 women's mid-amateurs, and I haven't really looked at some people. I think last time was 2017, so I'm not sure if some of the girls played the mid-am in 2017 there, but really a long time since they played that. Of course, it's just been renovated by Texas architect Chet Williams. Course knowledge is going to play a big factor, just because it is so different from what the girls have seen. And it's been such a long time since they played there. It's kind of like when the men played the U.S. Open at Marion Golf Club, and it had been, 30 years since they had been to Marion. I think you're going to see something very similar at Champions this week. So that's why, don't count out girls from Texas and others who have come here, have seen the course and have played both courses, because the Cypress course is not different. I mean, it's very different from Jackrabbit. So don't discount people who have done some advanced research this week.
For sure. Adam, any final words?
Yeah, I mean, it's exciting. It's a major championship. It's the last major of the year. It's a big tournament that's celebrating, obviously, its 75th anniversary as well. To Art's point about the Cypress course, it's got a long and storied history in hosting some of the biggest events in the sport, men or women. U.S. Open, U.S. Amateur, hosted the PGA Tour for a number of years as well. And now we have the
Ryder
biggest
Cup.
event. Ryder Cup as well. So we've got the biggest event in the U.S., biggest event for women's golf in the U.S. Women's Open coming to an obviously storied and iconic golf course, not just in the state of Texas, but in sort of golf's lexicon and in the United States as well. So major championship week, always going to be exciting. And here's hoping we have another very exciting major week ahead of us.
For sure. Thank you guys so much for joining. Adam, it's great to see you again. It's been a minute. Art, thank you so
been
much.
A while.
Yeah, I hope to have you on again. And make sure you guys tune in next week for another episode of Send It.